Hello there, Saber lovers. My name is Jeff Wester, and I'm here to give you my overall review of my first complete install and build, my RPK Customs V2 lightsaber. I did the entire thing, and I really feel proud of myself. I've never done an install before, but I've been doing stunt installs for a while, and I did the paint job. I designed the chassis and printed it out on my 3D printer. I sourced all the parts that didn't come with it, and it was really an amazing experience. Let's fire it up.
I'm a Jedi, like my father before me.
It's running a green lime Tricrete LED, Nano Biscotti V4. I have a Saber Essentials real bass speaker, and it's awesome. Got a battery, and gosh, I don't know. Now that we've got an overview, let's just talk about this thing and what went into it. Starting from the outside, in the weathering process, man, I learned a lot. In the first version of this, I actually, in the process of weathering it and getting it all right, I ended up getting something in the threads, and it just locked the saber in, and I couldn't do anything with it. And in the process of getting it taken apart, it got bent out of round, and there was all these issues. Ryan Kelly actually reached out to me and replaced the saber for me, which was so amazing, and I'm just so grateful. I don't know what to say. It was so incredible. And so the benefit of that was that I got to do it twice. And so I learned a ton about weathering a V2. I was never after the stencil look. I prefer sabers that have that kind of naturally weathered look to them, but I did want it to be as close as possible to the one on the screen. I created a little sheet showing me all the different photos of the saber that we had, which I actually passed around online a little while ago, and I had that up on my screen the whole time I did it. A couple things to note that I'll just point out to you if you're thinking of doing one of these that you should know or that I learned and I can pass on to you is, first of all, first thing you have to do is kind of think about your order of operations. The first time I did it, I didn't do it in the way that kind of everybody was talking about, but it didn't really work for me. And that was you beat it up, right? You've got to ding up this booster section and some other parts, and then you sand it, and then paint it, and then you apply aluminum black to this booster section and to the emitter because those appear darker in the film. And then once you've done that, you kind of take off the extra aluminum black to get it where you want it on these sections. The problem there was that when I would do that, it would actually take the paint off with the aluminum black when I was Scotch-Briting it on these sections. So the second time I did it, I changed up the order of operations a bit. So what I did was, first I weathered it and dinged it, that was fine. And then I sanded it for paint. And then I took it and I put the oven cleaner on it. And I felt like this was where I started to get into the risk. But it turned out to work great for me. I put on the oven cleaner and I aged it in 5-minute intervals. I think it took about 15 minutes to get to the patina that I liked on the metal to really give it that kind of aged look and feel. And once I had done that, then I applied the aluminum black onto the booster section and onto here. And then I painted on top of that. And that worked great for me. I didn't have to ruin the paint when I was taking it down. I still got that darkened, grainy kind of texture that the aluminum black gives those sections. And you can see the contrast between the aluminum black section and the regular weathered section there. And I just feel like that worked a lot better. The other thing that I learned was that when you're using the toothpaste, I had it in my brain that if I let that toothpaste dry and harden before I painted it, there would be a problem taking it off. And that if I let the paint dry too firmly before I tried to get the toothpaste off of there, and I was wrong about all that, and it created all kinds of problems. I started taking the toothpaste off before the paint dried hard enough, and so there was some smearing I had to get into. What I would say is you don't have to stress about it. The toothpaste method, if you're doing it, you basically paint toothpaste into the negative spaces where you don't want paint, and then with a toothpick, and you just let it dry. I mean, it can dry, and then you paint over it. Let the paint completely dry, and then when it comes off, it really comes off clean and nice, and you get this nice chipped effect. Another thing I tried to do was to keep the dents in the non-painted areas. When I was denting it ahead of time, I tried to pay a lot of attention to that. so that when I was painting in my negative space, I knew that I didn't want dents under the paint. I wanted the dents to be in empty space areas. The logic there being, if it's in a box and it's getting hit with stuff and chipping the paint off, those are where the dings would be, not under the paint. The kit came with the gaffer's tape, which is really, really helpful. It also came with the knurled cone, which I also aged with the oven cleaner, as well as the mystery chunk, which was a press fit item that was super easy to do. Ryan Kelly, besides replacing this thing, was just so generous with his wealth of knowledge around V2s. And he introduced me to the toothpaste method and actually put a video up of it online, also around the aluminum black. And he's just a solid guy, and I couldn't, just, hey, thanks if you're out there watching this. Thank you. Let's look inside. Starting here at the LED, I got a Tri-Cree Rebel LED. I did not know, because you don't use a heat sink in here and you put the LED directly in, I didn't know how to fix the lens, and I made the mistake of gluing it, and don't do that. It will smoke. And it looks cool for a second when you're not freaking out thinking that you're frying a lightsaber that you just worked really hard on. It wires through here, and I kind of solved some of the space issues that I was facing with, I housed the battery right here. So I designed my chassis to slide up and fit around the battery and kind of hold it into this space. And then the wiring from the LED and the battery come down here and meet with the switch. So I'll show you the chassis I designed. I iterated, I think, about 5 times, printed out different versions. I even had a different version fully installed in the Saber, but it wasn't, it was binding up and it was causing some problems. And it's kind of one of those things about engineering. You have to get in there and mess around with it to really understand the limitations. And this is my first build. I knew I was taking on a ton. I was like, I'm up for it. Let's do this. So I recently had a recharge port replacement, and I haven't figured out how to get this model fixed yet, so working on that a little bit. But I set it up so that my wiring is down below the nano biscotti, and you can just get kind of a clean view of the soldering up on the top. Got access to my SD port right here. The speaker sits right here and projects the sound towards these open speaker vents underneath the clamp. My thinking there is I'm trying to create kind of a echo chamber for the speaker. There's a channel that runs all along the bottom that's open, and that's where I've got all my wiring going into this open area here, just kind of a housing for all the loose wiring and the resistors and everything that would normally clog things up, and they were giving me some trouble in kind of a thinner space here. Ideally, I wanted to keep this whole area as empty as possible for the sound to just generate, and with the true bass speaker and in the sound chamber there, it just creates such a nice, kind of a thick resonant sound. I'm so used to hearing the lightsabers that I own have a little bit of a high-pitched sound to them because of the lack of bass in the speaker, and the combination of the true bass and the sound chamber really makes
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
Really makes this thing growl. I'm surprised how well you can hear the sound through those vents. There's no pommel venting. It's just great. All in all, I am in love with this Saber. I've been carrying it around with me. I brought it to work today. It's my dream come true. I've always wanted to hold the Saber that Luke held in his hand in the movies. It's the Saber that made me care at all. And I think particularly as I got into my first build, I was like, I want something that I don't have to be super careful with and not ding up. But I just love the niche quality of this, that it's like a niche saber in an extremely niche hobby. And I know that's nerdy as hell, but whatever, it's Star Wars. If you're thinking of getting a V2, I highly recommend an RPK Customs V2. The accuracy is just extremely on point. The kit comes with all the essential things you need to really bring it home. It's really a fun process. I mean, if you like to craft at all, the painting process alone is it's kind of a blast. And there's a ton of resources. There's a Saber manual Bible out there where you can get tons of information. There's lots of new pictures that you can reference. And it's fun. If you're into it, go get one. Get yourself an RPK Custom V2. I highly recommend it. Thanks for watching my video. I do have to say thank you, besides saying thank you to Ryan Kelly personally, I want to thank everyone on the Thin Neck Saber community board on Facebook. They really helped me out a ton. The DIY Saber community on Facebook as well. This is such an awesome community, and there's so much information, and so many people came alongside me to help me figure out my problems, pointing out and troubleshooting everything I needed. And I'm so grateful. And just, may the force be with you.